Do you know you can play as a data scientist with C# using Polyglot Notebooks? Let's see how to do in this video. These days, machine learning has become a common task in our development. Also, we as a .NET developer, we have ML.NET, for example, that allow us to implement many algorithms that are common in machine learning. But we as .NET developer, how do we code our tasks? We use Visual Studio, we use Visual Studio Code, and we have a quite standard way to code. We create a project, we type some code, we compile, we run, we look if there are errors in the data, we get back into the editor, we correct the code, we compile and run, and so on. So, as machine learning is full of parameters or little details that have to be tried, have to be changed continuously to find the correct way to execute the machine learning code, it can be quite heavy and it can be quite difficult and it will take so long to fine tune our code. And if we look at common data scientists that use Jupyter notebooks and Python, we see that they have an easier approach to machine learning. They open up a notebook, they type a single line of code, they can immediately execute, they can check immediately the effect of their code. And so they are simple to correct the code and relaunch. And this can increase a lot your productivity. So for this reason, it is interesting that we can code C# and .NET in Polyglot Notebooks. And this is what I want to show you in this video. So here we are inside Visual Studio Code and we already have a Polyglot Notebook open. I have in this folder a file that is product sales. I can click and I see that is a very simple CSV file that contains product sales data, a day and a value. It is a CSV file and so I can read it as a string. So to start coding, let's load this file. How can I read this file? I can use, for example, file.readAllText. Let's type it. Okay, I have executed the cell and I see an error. Why? File does not exist in the current context. Correct? Because I have to import the namespace. So I can write using system.io. Okay, perfect. I can re-execute. Okay, I see that I am not in the correct folder, so I can file save as product sales anomaly detection. Okay, I try to re-execute and I see the content, the file content. Okay, it was just an error of directory. Perfect. So I want to notice that while in our typical code, if I type file.readAllText, it makes no effect. Why? Because the result of a readAllText method is not handled in any variable. Inside a notebook cell, it is important that it is an expression, it is a right value. So a cell is like a value. It receives the value of the expression and show it in the output part of a cell. This is possible quite easy in Polyglot Notebooks. But okay, this is a text that I cannot manipulate, so I can assign to a variable. Okay, now it is an instruction, no more an expression, semicolon, and I execute, and correctly I don't see any result. So I can add a cell, I can write text, I execute, and I obtain the same result. Perfect. So now what can I do? I can parse this text. It is a CSV file, and so you have a carriage return line feed that separate with all the lines. So let's do that. Text.split -n -r. Okay, and I have an array. Perfect. Well, an I enumerable. To have an array, I have to write to array. That's okay. I have square brackets, so if I try 0 in square brackets, I obtain months and product sales, correct. If I write 1, I have January the 1st, 271. Perfect. Okay, so what can I do now? Okay, I have splitted the rows, and now I can split the columns. So I can run again split, and what I can do is xx dot split with comma. Okay, perfect. And oh yes, sorry, I have to write down select, so using link u, and now I have an array of 2 columns of the single line. Okay, just to test, if I select the second row, no sorry, to array, the second row, the first cell, the first cell, I should see January the 1st, and that's okay. Perfect. So, as I know that that in the first column there is a day, and in the second column there is a value, I can skip the first line. So I don't have the header, because I already know the meaning of the columns. Perfect. So I can select again what? I can create, for example, an anonymous type. I can say day is, for example, xx0, and value is xx1. Perfect. You see that I have the correct parse of the 2 columns, but we can do better. How? We can have float parse second column, so I can make it as a float and not as a string. Perfect. Well, almost, because you see that I have lost the decimal comma. This is because I am Italian, so I live in a European country where the decimal is the comma, while dot is the thousand separator. While US code, US encoding use the dot as the decimal separator. So I need to create a USU, new system globalization culture info, en US, and US, perfect. And if I use as a format provider, I run again, and so I have the correct decimal comma. And I have written normally the code, and I have discussed with you what I'm doing, but what I was writing. But you see that I just changed a little bit, re-executed the cell, and I have immediately the result. .NET Interactive make all the work for you to compile the code on the behind to give you the scripting experience, and this is great. Okay, so if all of this I do var product sales equal to array, I have my data. Oh well, what I have mistaken. Okay, this is typically I have to check if probably where not string is null or white space XX. Okay, perfect. So probably there is the last line that is empty, and so it can be splitted in two columns. Perfect. So if I add again code product sales and I run, I obtain the value that we have already seen. So this is good, and we before applying machine learning, we can also make a visualization of this data. So now I probably need to understand visually what is happening with this data. So I can write down some code to make some graph, to make a chart for that data. So how we can do that? As well, in Jupyter Notebooks, a common library is Plotly. And the nice thing is that this library has also a support also in Polyglot Notebooks and with .NET. So let's write some code. So first I need to add the NuGet package. Perfect. So the library is correctly loaded. Now, what I can do, I need to add the namespace. Okay, in product sales I have a data, now I have to compose a chart. And we use a scatter plot. On the x line, on the x-axis, I use the days. Product sales select XX day. While on the y-axis, I select now I need to create a plot. New chart, chart plot chart, and finally display plot. Okay, so I see a result and think how simple it is. Think that in a Visual Studio you have to open a browser page or you have to code some desktop with Windows Form or WPF to do the same thing. Here is quite more easily. So how do we play data science? We can have time series anomaly detection. This is a time series, the time, the value. we see a trend. Okay, we have many little spikes, but probably I see these are more specific spikes, more wide, that I need. I see that they probably are anomalies, where anomalies is not really negative as a meaning. Anomaly is different from the average, so outside more than a threshold that we can set. So I see that what I want is to teach to a program to make it automatically, so we can then implement some sort of notification or something like that. So to begin, I need to add ml.net to our notebook. So hr NuGet Microsoft ML and a second NuGet Microsoft.ml.time series. Now I need to add the namespace using Microsoft.ml using Microsoft.ml.data. Okay, we have in product sales array our value, but we used anonymous types. Now we need to define a class that can be used with some metadata by ml.net. So in Polyglot Notebooks, you are not limited to statement and expression, but also you can define classes. So let's do that. Public class product sales data. Okay, and I have public string day get set, public float value get set, and I need to add some attributes. So load column 0 and load column 1. With this definition, we can say write ml product sales equal product sales select new product sales data day equal xx.day comma value equal xx.value. Okay, closed to array. Perfect. So if I type ml product sales, I have the same result, but specifically I have now an array of specific types. Okay, that's great. So now we can start coding with specific ml.net code. So first we need to create the ml context, that is ml context. Okay, well, in this demo you will see that I write any line in a new cell. This is not necessary. It is quite it is for demo purposes, so I can also check if I'm writing something wrong. Okay, so ml context is defined. I assume that you understand a little about ml.net. I also not use it to write ml.net code every day. So I think you will find documentation on the Microsoft website for specific implementation of ml.net. So for now, what I'm interested is that you can write this kind of code inside a Polyglot notebook. What I need to do is to create a data view of this data. I data view, and I call it data view equal ml context dot data dot load from enumerable, okay, product sales data, and I type ml product sales. Okay, I have my data view because ML.NET require its own metadata format that are implemented in the data view. Okay, as we need to create an estimator where estimate means I evaluate the algorithm that we will choose to make our anomaly detection. I need a structure to contain the result of the estimate. And so we define another class, public class product sales prediction, because prediction is the generic name for the estimation. Okay, the ML.NET makes in general a prediction on the data because it is not sure that they are true. They probably will be with a confidence threshold. Okay, so the prediction for the algorithm that we will choose create a double array prediction get set, okay, and this is a vector type 3 because we need to help ML.NET to add some metadata because we for C# we don't need the size, but for machine learning we need to predefine which will be the size. Obviously the execution will allocate the correct size for this array. In ML.NET, to make an anomaly detection, we can use an IID spike estimator. So it is an auto-training algorithm that allows to detect the spikes in a time series. First thing to do is creating an estimator with mapping the kind of data that we will give to the code. So we have the product sale data and the prediction. So var IID spike estimator equal ml context dot transforms dot detect IID spike, and I have to say output column name, sorry, that is name of, and we have product sales prediction dot prediction, and I have input column name that is name of product sales data dot value. Perfect. So this is the mapping of the value. Then we need to set a confidence threshold that is 95 in our case, and we have to specify how far in the history for each point the algorithm has to look for change in the detection. And for example, for this kind of data, we can set, for example, product sales dot length and array for okay. These kind of parameters are what you will change in many experiments you will do, so to find what is correct for you. Okay, so I run and that's okay. Now I need to create an empty dataset that is ml context dot data dot load from enumerable. Okay, that is new product sales data. Okay, so I have an empty dataset that is used by the training of the estimator. In general, when this is what you call a model. A model have to be trained, and this is general for ML.NET. Specifically, the IID spike algorithm has auto-training, is auto-trained, so it will train with the effective data that you will use. But ML.NET require you to make an estimate, to make the training at least just to load the metadata. So, okay, I have to say I transformer that is IID spike transform equal IID spike estimator fit empty dataset. Transformer. Okay, so now I have my so this IID spike transform is our model that is trained that I can use to my data. So I can make now the first a transformation of the data, I data view that is transformed data equals IID spike transform that is transform the data view to prepare for the prediction. Okay, now I need to create the predictions. For predictions equal ml context dot data dot create enumerable product sales prediction from transformed data reuse object false. Okay, what is inside these predictions? I see that there is an array of three values. The first is the anomaly yes or no. It is the value that is evaluated and the confidence percentage. So to look if there are some anomalies, I can use where xx dot prediction 0, the first element, that is equal to 1. Okay, I see that I have found 4 points that are considered anomalies for with these parameters that were this confidence interval and looking in the history. Okay, I clear. So to make a graph, what do I need? I need to put together the original line with this new prediction. So now what I need is to select the points from the original series and to match them as anomalies. How can we do that? Var detected equal, we can say product sales zip, because there is a one-to-one correspondence between the two series with predictions Let's see if this work. Detected. Okay. So you see item 1 and item 2, and I have, okay, the second. So as we have this, I filter them with where x second dot is dot prediction of 0 equal 1. Sorry, equal 0 of 0 equal 1. Okay, and I have the 4 values. Perfect. Now I can throw away the result because I just need the first, okay, two array, okay, and I have the 4 points that are considered anomalies. Okay, this is what I needed because now I have the chart of the original chart. I can create a new chart anomalies. It is new scatter. Okay, x is detected dot select, that is xx dot day. Perfect. Y is detected dot select xx dot value. And you say it is the same as before, correct? But I use a new parameter that is mod, that is markers. Okay, so we have reached the end. So now var plot equal plot chart plot new chart anomalies. I have made a mistake, but is no problem. So I have this plot and finally display plot. Okay, perfect. Now we have the result. You see that we have the original line and you see that the 4 points have become markers to match exactly that point that now we consider as anomalies. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you now want to try yourself playing as a data scientist with C# inside Polyglot Notebooks. You will find the code online to try and enjoy. See you for the next video. Bye!